There we go. So I'm recording this video, so you'll be able to watch it afterwards on YouTube without any of the hiccups if that ends up happening. But I'm gonna try it, see if I can make it work, and yeah, we're gonna go from there. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Axel. I am Axel, and I am the person behind Get Speaking English. So, and today we're going to check out this article here. I think I have it on the screen. Yes, we're going to check out this article here. What's it like to live in the world's smartest cities for 2024? And if you don't know, lately, all on my social media accounts, I've been sharing lots of posts and activities and things related to sustainability. And I've been also doing conversational classes based on articles right now, all about that topic. So, this is one of the articles I wanted to look at. I thought it would be a good one to learn some useful vocabulary from that you could then use maybe on your exams, also in real life. Yeah, and so I thought it would be really helpful for us to go ahead, read this article together. I am going to read it. You'll be able to hear the pronunciation of words. I'll talk about some of the useful phrases in here. Afterwards, you can re-watch this lesson and work on your own pronunciation, review some of the vocabulary, and maybe take away some of the talking points in here, but some of the key vocabulary, and then you are more than welcome to check me out for some conversational classes. I can bring that up. Right, yeah. So after this is all said and done, I recommend reading this article together, or again, recommend reading it again. Study the vocabulary, the pronunciation. So again, I'm going to read this. You'll be able to hear the pronunciation of our new vocabulary. You can go ahead, book a class, and then have a chat with me. You can book several. I tend to have lots of material. And keep an eye out, because I'm going to be sharing several other articles over the next few weeks. And that's all really helpful, especially if you are working on an exam, right? So all of these topics include lots of vocabulary, things that would be relevant if you are taking an exam, such as like the V2 first, C1 advanced, the IELTS exam. Also, if you want to take it a step further, you're also welcome to do lessons based on these articles as well. So if you're looking specifically to build your vocabulary, improve your grammar, if you need to fix some of your fossilized errors, so those errors that have been holding you back from progressing, from getting the scores you need, we would do that during lessons. And also, lessons are the only time I work on. Right, they're the only way to get feedback on writing from me. So that's an option as well. Anyways, so let's go back to the article then. And I'll leave some information about how to book classes after this class, maybe in the video description. It's also all over Telegram, all over my website. Yeah, so you can do that there. Okay, so let's look at this article then. So what's it like to live in the world's smartest cities for 2024? A. So the BBC speaks to residents in 5 of the top ranked cities in the Smart Cities Index 2024 to understand which features are making the most impact to their lives. Okay. All right. So a couple of things here already, right? So let's actually, you have to excuse me. I skipped a part. I got a little excited talking about the classes. I want to talk first, actually, what exactly is a smart city before we go any further. Because we say, you know, we don't just say smart city, we talk about smart devices and smart appliances, and so we throw around smart often, right? So usually when we talk about something smart in this context, we're talking about maybe devices or objects that they're connected to the internet somehow, and they use that internet connectivity to enhance the functionality somehow, or maybe do things more efficiently, right? So yeah, so they are connected to the internet and they use the internet to do things more efficiently or enhance functionality. So that's typically what we mean. So, your fridge might be connected to the internet somehow and use data to, I don't know, determine how cold it is or warm it up or something. Or maybe tell you when you need to get groceries these days, like when you're running out of things. So, yeah, so typically a smart device is sort of enhanced somehow using the internet, using technology to make it a little more helpful. Um, yeah, and welcome. I do have the chat up, by the way. I know that this lesson is not as interactive as maybe some of my past lessons. However, if more people come out, I definitely will design these lessons, make them a little bit more interactive while we're reading. But here, I just want to go through, focus on the pronunciation, focus on the vocabulary to help you out so you can understand this better. Right. Okay. So smart, right? So smart devices use the internet somehow. So a smart city, we're talking about urban areas. So urban areas that also are using digital technologies to basically collect data about the people who live and work in these cities. Okay, so urban areas that use digital technology to collect data on the people who live and work in those cities. Basically, the people in the cities, right? And then they would use that information to provide services for the citizens or operate things in the city. Yeah, so for example, maybe the city might collect information about traffic, for example, so about the cars and things, and then, you know, they can tell when traffic is maybe very heavy, when there's a lot of cars. They could use the data to change the traffic lights so traffic can run a bit more smoothly, right? Or maybe they use technology in public spaces at night to operate the lights so they can predict or they can tell when people need lighting versus when they don't need lighting, things like that. Or also to heat buildings, for example, or control the air conditioning. So they would use, yeah, so they use information, they use that data to operate those kinds of services. Okay. All right. So now that we got that out of the way, what a smart city is. When we're talking about residents, those are the people who live in an area. They basically have their home in a place. So they're talking to people who live in these cities to understand what features about the city impacts their lives. And a feature is just basically something kind of like an important function or maybe an important part of something that kind of, I want to say it makes it unique, but it's something that maybe a device or in this case a city has to offer. Okay, so With global temperatures rising and environmental changes putting pressure on every country, cities are facing new challenges in their plans for a sustainable future. Some destinations, however, have moved aggressively to implement smart solutions that aim to build a higher long term quality of life, providing guidance for the rest of the world to follow. Okay, so here are some destinations, just some locations have moved aggressively, so they've moved quickly, kind of in a very forceful way. So they're very active to implement smart solutions. Yeah, so to implement something, it basically means that you set up and you start using a plan or a system, maybe. So in this case, they have set up these smart solutions. They've planned these smart solutions, and now they are using them with the goal to build a higher quality of life, providing guidance for the rest of the world to follow. So, and if we're talking about quality of life, the quality of life, that's basically, you know, how well people are, like how much do they enjoy life in an area, right? So are they healthy, are they comfortable, do they enjoy it? Yeah, so they're looking to improve the quality of life for citizens in these cities. Okay, so to help chart the progress of these initiatives, the International Institute for Management Development puts together an annual ranking of the world's smartest cities based on the economic and technological strength of each city and how these factors enhance quality of life and provide solutions to societal challenges. All right, so quite a bit kind of here. So they help chart, they help track the progress of these initiatives. And again, so an initiative here, sort of a plan to achieve something. Maybe you have a goal in mind, so you would set out an initiative, a plan, maybe some sort of process to do that. Yeah, so they put together an annual ranking. So annual, they do it every year of these cities based on economical, technological strengths. And how these factors, how these different elements or parts enhance quality of life. All right. Now in its 5th year, the Smart Cities Index 2024 collected data from residents of 142 cities to understand their views on the city's health and safety, mobility, activities, opportunities, and governance. All right, so they've done it for 5 years, as we know, and they've collected all this data from the cities on these different elements. So health and safety, that's obvious, I think. Mobility, when we talk about mobility, that is about how well people move around. So how well can they move around within the city? You know, can they walk around easily? Can they use transportation to get from point A to B? So that is mobility, the ability to move. Activities, opportunities, and governance. So, you know, usually we know government, right? The system that kind of oversees a city or a town or a country. And here we have governance. And that just refers to basically how a country or how a city is managed, all of those systems for managing it. Basically, everything needed by the government to govern the city. So that is governance. Okay. So interestingly, not a single city from North America or Africa cracked the top 20 this year. And all but 3 cities in the top 20 are located in Europe or Asia. All right, so interestingly, not a single city, so no cities from North America cracked the top 20. So they just mean that they didn't make the top 20 of the list. And all but 3 cities, so every single one except 3 cities in the top 20 are located in Europe and Asia. So to better understand what exactly made these cities feel smart, we spoke to residents in 5 of the top ranked places to understand which features are making the most impact to their lives. All right, so now we're going to talk to the people who live there. Perfect. So first up we have Canberra, Australia. Great. So ranking 3rd in the index, and one of the few non-European or Asian cities in the top 20. Australia's capital scored particularly well for its low air pollution, its number of green spaces, and a high sense of inclusion among minority citizens. Okay, so some useful vocabulary here. So we know air pollution typically refers to the amount of toxins or harmful substances that are in the air. So in this case, there are not a lot of them in the air. Its number of green spaces. So when we talk about green spaces, these are basically areas that are not occupied by buildings or roads, for example. So they could be maybe like forests or parks, maybe not forests, but parks, gardens, even just areas where maybe there's some grass and some trees. So all of that is green. All of those are green spaces. And a high sense of inclusion among minority citizens. So a minority basically are people who are, culturally, ethnically, racially different or diverse from the majority of people. And here, so people who are part of those minority groups, they feel a sense of inclusion. They feel included, like they feel part of the community. They feel welcome there. So that's what we mean by here, a sense of inclusion. They feel included and part of the society, which is really great. Okay, so this doesn't surprise Bryden and David Campbell, co-founders of Brand Rebellion, a brand and workforce consultancy based in Canberra. Right. So what truly stands out is a strong sense of community, said Bryden. Okay, so here a great sort of collocation that I thought would be useful. So if you have a good strong, if the place has a strong sense of community, people feel like they belong to their community, and maybe they're proud to be there. Maybe they help one another. They are happy to live there. So that's kind of a useful little phrase. Has a strong sense of community. There's a genuine connectedness and willingness to help and support others, making it a warm and welcoming place to call home. Right, so there's a genuine or genuine. You might hear that pronunciation that way too. Genuine or genuine connectedness. And if something is genuine, it means it's real, it's true. There's a willingness to help and support one another. Another great collocation here, making it a warm and welcoming place. So if a place is warm and welcoming, people are friendly, other people feel like they could come in, they can be there, they're welcome there. She also mentioned how the city's proximity to nature informs how the city puts sustainability front and center. So here, the city's proximity, we mean how close it is to something. So if something has a proximity to something else, it's kind of close to it. So here the city is really near, it's close to nature, and that has an impact on how the city puts sustainability front and center. So how it makes sustainability a focus here. If we put something front and center, we're making it the focus. We're making it a focal point. Very important. Yeah. So another great sort of collocation here to put something front and center. This means to make it the most important thing, basically. All right. So Canberra is advanced in clean energy and renewable energy. And renewable initiatives. She said the city has ambitious targets to achieve net zero emissions by 2045. And this is evident in the ongoing electrification and adoption of renewable energy sources throughout the area. All right, yeah, so they have, so Canberra has, improved with clean energy, so types of energy that do not rely on fossil fuels, right? And of course, renewable energy or renewable efficiency, renewable initiatives refer to those ones that depend on renewable resources. So it's like solar and wind and things like that. So they have ambitious targets. If something is ambitious, it means that you have very high targets. So they have very high targets. They have big hopes, big goals to achieve net zero emissions by 2045. So net zero is kind of interesting. Net is actually, it's kind of like a math or a finance term, but basically in this case, so emissions, that's like the pollution that gets released into the air, right? The amount of pollution, right? So basically what it means is that the amount of pollution, the amount of emissions created by one activity is offset, it's balanced out, basically equalized by a reduction of pollution and emissions in another area. So maybe your activity creates, emissions like this high, but then you do something elsewhere that reduces emissions, and then it sort of balances out. So that's what net zero means here. So they want to do net zero emissions by 2045, so it's going to balance out, basically. Right. So Canberra has also adopted technology to make the city more livable and more attractive to startup founders and other businesses. Something that helps create a virtuous cycle of innovation. So you might have heard of startups before. A startup is basically a small business They're often tech related, but they don't have to be tech related. But just basically a small business here. So they're looking to attract small businesses or other businesses, which helps create a virtuous cycle of innovation. We talk about innovation. Basically, the refers to the creation of new ideas or ways of doing things. So they want to create sort of a place where people can innovate, come up with new ideas, be creative, try new things. Really great. So the city's smart city initiatives, including smart lighting, waste management, and traffic management systems, significantly improve the efficiency and sustainability of city services, said David. So again, I know I mentioned sort of like the lighting before in sort of the intro. So smart lighting, using data to determine when lighting should be used or not used. Waste management, the collection of basically how garbage or how waste is dealt with. So they're using it for waste management and traffic management as well. How they're going to control the flow of traffic. A robust, high-speed internet supports overall connectivity and the growth of remote work, while innovation hubs and co-working spaces like Canberra Innovation Network help foster tech development and entrepreneurship. Okay, so a robust, high-speed internet. If something is robust, it means that it's very strong, maybe difficult to break. So, very good, very strong high-speed internet that supports the connectivity and the growth of remote work. So, remote work, that's just work that is done not in the office, maybe at home, but maybe also, coffee shops or different places, or they mentioned co-working spaces, so there as well. But basically work that's not done in the office, in the company's office, basically. And you might also hear sort of like the verb form, basically, to work remotely. So I work remotely, I work maybe from home, or I work in a different place from where my office is located. While innovation hubs or co-working spaces, so again, referring to remote work, co-working spaces are sort of like these places where remote workers or people who do startups, who work independently, they work by themselves, can work in spaces and they can kind of meet people, socialize a little bit, so they don't feel as lonely, right? So that's the co-working spaces. They can work side by side. And yeah, that helps foster tech development and entrepreneurship. Tricky word to say. So usually we know entrepreneur, so a person that basically runs a business, right? So entrepreneurship refers to that ability or those skills needed to set up new businesses. So entrepreneurship. Right. Singapore. And I'd be interesting. If you're here, if you're watching, I'd be interested to know if you've been to any of these cities. So leave a comment. Let me know if you've been to any of these cities and if you feel like what your observations were. Do you think that they did good? In terms of, did they feel smart to you? What do you think? Okay, so Singapore ranked 5th in this year's index. Singapore jumped 2 places in the rankings thanks to high scores in safety, enabled by CCTV, high connectivity that makes schooling and traffic monitoring easier, and online reporting and document processing that enables seamless dealing with government bureaucracy. All right, so they have high scores in safety, enabled by CCTV. These are the closed circuit TV, basically where they have cameras everywhere monitoring people's movements and what they're doing. So they have high internet connectivity that makes schooling and traffic monitoring easier. So if you monitor something, you watch something, basically. Online reporting and document processing that enables seamless dealing with government bureaucracy. So if something is seamless, it has no problems. It works effortlessly. Like, you don't even know it's there. So yeah, so they can basically deal with the government and everything like that. Works without problems. So that's what seamless is. Dealing with government bureaucracy. And that's just basically all this, the systems, the forms and the processes and everything that needs to be done often in order to do certain things in a city or in a location. So basically all those systems for managing a country, we might refer to it as the red tape. So you have to do there's a lot of red tape to build a house, for example. You have to deal with a lot of bureaucracy and things like that to be able to do certain things. Right, so Singapore's public transportation system is greatly enhanced by the strategic use of open data and contactless payment technologies. So contactless payment, basically options to pay for things that don't require you to be in contact with another person. So for example, maybe cards that you just scan, or on your phone you can just scan, you can tap and pay it. So you don't have to interact with other people. So contactless payment technologies here. Said Firdaus Baswani, longtime resident and founder of personal finance resource Dollar Bureau. Together, this streamlines travel and makes it exceptionally convenient for residents and visitors alike. So, if we streamline something, in this case, streamline travel, we are kind of getting rid of all the extra stuff, anything that's like sort of extra, and we are making it sort of just like efficient, bare bones as possible, so it's way maybe easier to use, a lot more effective. So that's what it means to streamline something. You kind of cut it down to just like necessary parts, so it's as efficient and simple as possible. And they're saying, yeah, it makes it very convenient for residents and visitors alike. So here we just mean that it makes it exceptionally convenient for both residents and visitors. So that's what alike means here. So he mentions that both the government and private companies publish extensive data sets about traffic patterns, bus and train schedules, and crowd sizes at stations, which app developers and urban planners can then leverage to build solutions for commuters. A lot going on here. Yeah, so the companies, the governments, they're looking at extensive data sets. Something extensive just means like there's a like it's wide, it covers a lot of area. So in this case, they're looking at like tons of data that covers a wide variety of maybe different areas. Something extensive, very wide. And then app developers and urban planners, so the people who design cities, can then leverage that information to build a solution for commuters. So the commuters, these are the people that basically go back and forth between home and work. They're the ones that are, primarily using the transportation. Sometimes commuters could also be students, but usually it's working people. So they're using it to build solutions for commuters. They're leveraging the information. And if we leverage something, that means we're going to use something to get a benefit. So they're taking the information they've collected, then they're usually using it for this benefit. They're making solutions, they are solving problems for commuters. So if we leverage something, we basically use it to get an additional benefit. Helping them optimize their travel routes, so helping them make the best travel routes possible, save time, and ultimately reduce city congestion. And congestion, that's just to do with when there are so many cars, so much traffic that you can't get around. So that is congestion. So they're trying to reduce it, they're trying to lessen congestion. All right. Resident Kirk Westaway, executive chief at 2 Michelin star restaurant John, also points to the small touches that make a big difference in day-to-day life, especially in public transportation. Quick contactless payments and real-time data mean you're not left wondering if you'll get to your destination on time, he said. So again, the contactless payment options, you don't have to be in contact with a person. And real-time data, if something happens in real time, it means that it happens right now. So for example, this live is happening right now in real time. But if you are watching it later on YouTube, it is not happening in real time. So it happens in real time. It's happening right at the same moment. So basically, thing happens live, or So happens it happens right now, like it's happening in real time. In addition, Westaway highlights Singapore's focus on sustainability within its smart city framework. Technology is leveraged, so again, they're using technology to spearhead sustainability efforts, and urban farming is becoming a way of life here, he said. So again, so they're leveraging, they're using technology to spearhead or sort of pioneer, to lead sustainability efforts. And urban farming refers to basically growing crops and plants and things, but within the city limits. So maybe maybe they grow crops within buildings, or maybe on the rooftops, or whatever they do, but growing plants and food and stuff within the city. The aquaponics farm at Swissôtel de Stamford, which optimizes growing space without soil and minimizes water usage for fresh produce, provides one example of how smart cities can integrate innovative solutions for food production in urban environments. Okay, so have the aquaponics farm, just a type of farm, which optimizes, so uses the growing space as in the best way possible to minimize water usage for fresh produce. And so I underlined this word because it's a little bit interesting. Because so here, produce refers to, it's a general word referring to fruits and vegetables. So all of that is produce. Produce. But often we know this word. Often we see this as a verb. So in this case, this is a noun here, right? And if you'll notice, the syllable stress changes. So if it's one of those examples where the meaning of the word changes depending on where the syllable stress is in the word. So in this case, produce, if we're referring to fruit and vegetables, the syllable is on the first half of the word. But if we talk about producing something, so to produce something, to make something, the syllable is on the second half of the word. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, and there's a bunch of those in English. But this is a useful one. Pretty cool. Okay. Lausanne, Switzerland. And I hope I said that right. I'm not sure. Okay. So while 3 Swiss cities made the top 10, including Zurich at number 1 and Geneva at number 4, the smaller Lausanne still punches above its weight, ranking 7th in the index, even though its population sits just around 150,000. So what do we mean by that? What do we mean by punches above its weight? And this isn't a very common collocation or anything like that, but we just mean that like it's very small, but it's done but it did unexpectedly well. So surprisingly well considering it's a very small size. So it's kind of a bit of a, I think like a bit of a boxing reference there or something like that, or a fighting reference because they have weight classes. So it's like scoring like it should be a bigger city, but it's actually a smaller city. But the intimacy of the city actually proves to be a strength among its residents. So the intimacy here just refers to how close knit everything is, or just like the relationship people have to one another. So everybody's kind of close to one another, have good relationships. So that's what we mean by intimacy here. So it ends up being a strength among its residents. I love living in Lausanne because it's such a small city with all the amenities of a big town, said Olivia Bosshart, PR manager at Lausanne Tourism. So amenities, an amenity, it's basically often a building, but not necessarily, but sort of services that citizens can use, and it makes their lives a bit better. So for example, amenities could include like a gym, arenas, post offices, grocery stores, schools, basically all those things that citizens would use and that would make their lives a little bit better. So it has lots of amenities, amenities like a big town. Everything is so close on foot, so we can get there by walking. It's close on foot. From the station, it's just 15 minutes to the lake, Lake Geneva, and 15 minutes to the city center. Great. It's also a city that takes its proximity to nature seriously. and invests heavily in parks, gardens, and other green spaces. So again, it's proximity, how close it is to nature, and if you invest in something, you commit, time, resources, money, probably money and resources in this point, or in this case, but they're investing in parks, gardens, and other green spaces. With 360 hectares of urban green space and an initiative to plant more than 1,400 new trees each year. So a hectare, that's just sort of a measurement, like a unit of measurement. Having lots of green spaces, again, parks, gardens, and an initiative, a plan to plant more than. I had read this as 1,400. You could also read this as 1,400 new trees each year. Okay. So in addition, the city remains committed to pushing digital initiatives forward in a sustainable way. The city of Lausanne is committed to reducing its digital impact and supports a digital transition of its administration. So they're just basically putting all of the paperwork, all of the forms and everything, all of the records online. They're making everything digital. Explained Alexon Bornos, communications director at the city of Lausanne. Also pointing out the city's efforts in providing digital services to residents and visitors. So a mobile app is available to find practical information for visiting and living in Lausanne, said Bornos. So a mobile app has practical information. If something is practical, it means that it means that it's useful in real life. So we could use it in real life situations. So in this case, the information available on that app, that would be relevant, useful, actually useful to people who live there. So it's really good. E-administration services are available to people living in Lausanne, including online registrations and reservations, transportation, information and travels, sales of the city wine, and more. Yeah, so e-administration services, so here e-online services are available to people there, including online registration, so you can sign up for things or enroll in things, and reservations, so make bookings or make like hotel bookings or reserve tables at restaurants. Yeah, so all sorts of stuff available online. London, United Kingdom, ranking 8th in the index, down 2 spots from last year. London continues to rank well for its ease of online services, including booking transportation and easy to access Wi-Fi. So the ease of something, just how easy it is to use. So the services are very easy to use, including booking transportation and easy to access Wi-Fi. So it's easy to access. People can use it very easily, and it's very widely available, maybe. With great transportation, both with the tube, buses, boats, and active travel schemes, such as bikes and scooters. London is a fun place to be, with lots going on every day of the week, including restaurants, pubs, nightlife, concerts, and more, said Emma Orr of Winning Business UK Limited, who worked with London's 32 boroughs on EV charging infrastructure. All right, so we've probably heard of the tube. In other parts of the world, we would usually refer to this as either the subway or maybe also the metro, depending on where you are. Yeah, the subway or the metro. Buses, boat, active travel schemes, just like ways to active travel, in this case bikes and scooters. So scooters can kind of refer to like a couple different things. A scooter could be, we might think of it as this, one of this thing, but it can also be kind of like one of these bikes. So it really depends on like who you're talking to, like a little, yeah, those kind of, they're kind of like motorbikes, but not really. So those are scooters. Both of these are scooters. Yeah, lots going on. Okay. You might have noticed that I read this as limited. Just sort of a common business acronym that comes up, but yeah, this stands for limited. Who works in London's boroughs, 32 boroughs. A borough, yeah, a borough is just basically sort of a district or a section of a city. A pronunciation, I know, it's like one of those OUGH words, so in this case it's borough. And they worked on EV charging infrastructure, so for electric vehicles. Okay. Or has watched the city enact deep commitments to ongoing sustainability over the past few years. There is also a rise in smart grids, renewable energy across the city, both within building design and energy harvesting. So usually when we talk about the grid, we're talking about an electrical grid. So sort of like the system that provides electricity everywhere. In this case, a smart grid, so going back to using internet and data and everything like that, they use the information to determine how much energy should be provided to consumers, so the people that live there. So that's what a smart grid is, a smart energy grid, basically. And so rise in smart grids, renewable energy across the city within building design, and energy harvesting. If we harvest something, we collect it. We collect something useful, maybe to use elsewhere in the future. It usually, we talk about harvesting vegetables, like fruit and vegetables to eat, right? So when it's when the food is ripe, ready to pick, we will harvest it. We will take it and then eat it, right? But here we can also use it when we're talking about harvesting energy. So London is committed to becoming a clean city, both in terms of EV infrastructure, but also the commitment to green space and active travel, walking and cycling plans. So again, EV infrastructure, I know I kind of glossed over it here, but EV infrastructure. So infrastructure, sort of like maybe all like the amenities or the like the systems, the devices needed to support something. And EV, this is going to be the electric vehicles. So systems, or I don't know. All right. So Transport for London have targets that 80% of journeys should be completed by active travel, walking, cycling, or public transport by 2041. So they have targets, they have aims. that 80% of all journeys, of all trips, should be done these ways by 2041. Great. The city's commitment to sustainability is also evident in its push for electric vehicle infrastructure. So this commitment is also evident or obvious with its push, with its priorities for electric vehicle infrastructure. So they are pushing, they are trying to make that happen. EV infrastructure is a huge technological change, which we see more so in London than any other UK city, Orr said. Adding, so there's like a little typo here. So adding that this initiative is closely tied to the city's low, sort of ultra low emission zone policy, which makes it less expensive to drive EVs than gas emitting cars, which must pay a fee to drive through. What does this mean? Yeah, so they have this this ultra low emission zone, so areas of the city with no emissions, so no pollution in the air, or at least low levels of pollution in the air. So it makes it less expensive to drive EVs, so electric vehicles, in those regions, because gas emitting cars, so cars that rely on gas, they must pay a fee, they must pay money in order to drive through, in order to pass through or be inside those zones. So that makes sense. Okay, Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, and I think we're on the. So rounding out the top 10, Abu Dhabi moved up 3 places in the ratings this year to reach 10th in the index. All right, so it's gone up 3 places, reached number 10. So that's what we mean by rounding out the top 10. So it's at the bottom of the top 10. So rounding out the top 10 is Abu Dhabi. The city scored extremely well for its ease of transportation and online bookings, high sanitation, even in the poorest areas of the city, digital skills taught well in schools, and as a place where people of different ethnicities feel welcome. Yeah, so it did really well for ease of transport, like how easy it is to access transport and do online bookings. High sanitation, so sanitation refers to how clean things are. So in this case, sort of the poorer areas are also very clean. So they have high sanitation, digital skills taught in school, as well as a place where people of different ethnicities feel welcome. So again, talking about people here, an ethnicity, these are basically, it's like a group that shares maybe a language or some like something culturally, a set of traditions or something. So lots of different cultures, lots of different ethnicities, they all feel welcome in the city. For residents, the smart and convenient features of the city's transportation systems are unmatched. So if they are unmatched, you can't find them anywhere else. So it's unique. The city's integration of vehicle charging infrastructures and autonomous driving solutions has made commuting smooth and efficient. So the integration, just basically how you join something with something else. So how it's just kind of like mixed together. Yeah, so they've done a good job of sort of blending these things together, vehicle charging infrastructure and autonomous driving solutions. So something autonomous, might be noisy here, I'm really sorry. Something autonomous is done without anyone's help, so it's just done by yourself. So in this case, an autonomous vehicle those are self-driving cars. So they don't need humans, they just drive by themselves. And all of that has made commuting smoother. So earlier we talked about the commuters, the people going back and forth. So here now we see the verb, so to commute. To go, so basically to commute means to go back and forth from work and home, basically. Yeah. So all of this is more smooth and efficient. Said Danvin Srarim, a resident of Abu Dhabi and founder of AI tool Prompt Vibes. So the Intelligent Mobility Center ensures that land, sea, air, and rail transportation are seamlessly managed. So again, mobility has to do with people, how well people can move around, and it's seamlessly managed. You don't notice it because there are no problems. This advanced system not only reduces traffic congestion, but also minimizes environmental impact. So it reduces the amount of traffic blocking the roads and lessens environmental impact. He also points to the newly planned neighborhood Masdar City, located within Abu Dhabi, as a model for sustainable urban development. So if something is a model, it's basically kind of like an ideal version of something that can then be maybe copied or replicated. So in this case, it's a good example of a city that other cities could maybe, it's a good example of a neighborhood that other places could try to copy. Its design blends traditional Arab architecture with modern technology, providing a naturally cool environment during the scorching summer months. So it blends, so it's very good at mixing traditional Arab culture or architecture with modern technology, making it naturally cool, so lowering the temperature, even during the scorching summer months. So if something's scorching, we just mean it's really, 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 really hot. So very hot. They have very hot summers. The extensive use of solar panels on rooftops harnesses the sun's energy, making it one of the largest photovoltaic installations in the Middle East. So the extensive use, the wide use of solar panels on rooftops harnesses the sun's energy, so takes the sun's energy, making it one of the largest photovoltaic installations. So photovoltaic, that refers to solar panels. So something photovoltaic has to do with solar panels. Most of the buildings in Masdar City are ranked LEED Gold or Platinum, and the buildings have all been designed to reduce energy and water consumption by at least 40%. So we know gold is an imported metal, so is platinum, another example of sort of a precious metal. And they've been designed to reduce energy and water consumption. So how much water is consumed or how much water is being used, basically. So they are reducing water consumption. Though building progress has been slower than anticipated, the area aims to eventually be big enough for 40,000 residents. So although the buildings of the development of this space has been slower than anticipated or slower than expected, they aim to be able to have all of these residents there, and that's great. So Abu Dhabi is a place where technology and sustainability come together, making life easier and more enjoyable for residents like me, said Srogim. And that's it. I think we're at the bottom of the end of this article. So, yeah, so I hope this was helpful. I definitely hope this was helpful. I definitely recommend re-watching this video so you can work on your pronunciation and improve your vocabulary. I will also compile this list of notes and I will leave it linked in the video description below when I share this on YouTube. Yeah, also, as I mentioned earlier too, you're more than welcome to, you're more than welcome to book a class with me so we can discuss this together. We can either do conversation classes, they're kind of based on discussion classes, but also lots of speaking activities because I have so many students that are preparing for the B2 first and C1 advanced exam. So I like to include sort of part 2, part 3 style speaking tasks in that material as well. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, if you want to work on your writing, for example, or if you really want to fix your pronunciation or fix your fossilized errors, I definitely recommend doing some lessons. And I would be more than happy to discuss this article or the topics in this article with you during some classes together. Yeah, okay. So I will leave all of the information for booking all of this below. I will upload this video onto YouTube as soon as possible. Yeah, and keep an eye out because I have a few more articles about sustainability that I want to talk about that I will read over the next few weeks. All right. Thanks again, everybody, for coming out. And I will see you next time, I guess. All right. Have a great day, everybody.